Yo, 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 what's up, though? I don't want to get all corny on this one or anything like that, but check it out. What is love? You know? Is love all that love is? Wow. Carrying all that it carries? Wow. Being burdened with all that it's burdened? Wow. Accomplishing all that it accomplishes? Wow. Holding all in the stillness of its existence while it holds it in that stillness or state of motion, better said, but and still, you know. So let's look at this. If possession meant that I got to access more of myself, does it mean that when I get rid of the possession, I'll feel less myself since I've experienced more of my higher self? Will I then feel depressed or like I lost something or like something is missing or like there's a change there in what perspective or measured through confidence or, like what would it land at being essentially, Well, I try not to make it so much about you, Tom, but that's twice already, my friend 10 Second Tom, he likes to show up and make a scene, and he's very awesome, like every time I enter the scene, I show up, refreshed, spark interest, and basically passionate, and like I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing, like confident basically, that's what he does to me. He instills a fresh breath of confidence. The only down part is that I forget whatever it is that I was trying to maintain in train of thought, But other than that, I get a fresh burst of confidence, So now it's just like, hey, once I acquire that confidence, I got to jump back into the scene and cool, everything's all smooth back again, But I mean, yeah, all it is, like I said, conditioning, dude. It's conditioning your good train of thoughts, your bad train of thoughts, and then learning to be the same demon that turned you into that angel or turned you into that devil, So that's all you're essentially learning. That's the whole practice of my life for you on screen, is turning you crazy like me, and crazy enough that if anybody points at me, they'll point at you. If they point at you, it's probably because they were already pointing at me, So this is what it means to be at the front line, to see yourself as how do you say, an eternal sacrifice for yourself, to yourself, because you see the God in you. I mean, if I want to get blasphemous or just very drastic, or just raise your hopes and give you some sort of dangling string of theory, because like, what is life without a good theory? I'll tell you, probably not all that. So, So I think by now we've all established that, for those who have been diligently trying to like break me, I think I already brought you to this point, but I'm going to remind you again. If I'm seeing primarily for my intuitive nature, what does it really mean for the government, for people, for any witch or warlock, or whatever imaginative creative factor you've inserted to try to define or explain something away, But if they achieve their goal, let's just say, of breaking somebody, and they're intuitive, where does that leave you? Like, what is intuition to begin with? And if you break a kind of person that's intuitive, what does that really do to our reality? I mean, intuition is primarily like it's like starting from your source, So you're always able to get back to your source. It doesn't matter where you go, you start at the source, so you can always get back to the originality of what is source. And initially the what is intuitive. So if that's what intuition means you just recognize yourself as being a part of this cosmic, energetic existence, So then you recognize your intuitiveness, You know, you see yourself in your wide version, in your macro version, in your micro version, in your micro condensed version, and I mean, so on and so forth. You know, these are all aspects of your existence. You know, so if that's what it is, and here we are fighting with somebody and something that hasn't been able to understand that I'm trying to save the perspective from arriving at questioning this very thing that now I've given words to and put into a question and formed it and shaped it and put it out there, you know? So I wonder what kind of answers people will actually produce from having produced the question. What happens when you break intuition? You know? Answer me that. I mean, you know, I get trying to break a person in their emotional stability. I get trying to break a person and their train of thought or their, you know, frustration with themselves for not being able to maintain a train of thought or whatever illusional, you know, conspicuous inner workings you guys manipulate to factor out that as an outcome or result or product or phrased delusion or illusion, you know? So essentially, you know, I keep coming back to these regurgitated words. Essentially. And I know at that instant it's you. I'm patient, I'm slow, I'm kind. You know, if I want to embody love. You know, if I'm hateful, then I'm impulsive, I'm irrational, and, you know, I'm selfish, all about me. You know? So if those are my drastic sides and you guys just want to sit here and monkey around with me, you know? I mean, I once was trying to hide from the world that I was bad. I was once trying to hide from the world that I was good. I was once trying to hide from the world that I was even here. You know? But, hey, you guys all knew this. And you did all those things. You went against all those things. You caused me to perceive such a different and variation of those things. All for the factor and faculty of what? Ten-second time. You want to refresh it? Oh, you just did? Cool. Well, I mean, here we are. Fresh. You know? And hopefully I left you wanting. Hopefully their mission was accomplished and they left you wanting at that right moment. You know? Because don't get me wrong, I like my refresh, my, you know, restart and show up with confidence, show up present, you know, like actually interact and be like you're there in the camera, not always lost. Like, what is he looking at? What's so interesting over there? Why doesn't he look at us on the camera? Well, we're supposed to be the center of his attention, or he should be focused on himself and, you know, like showing how okay, because he's just in love with the stare of himself, and everybody who's gonna show up and do that anyway is just might as well see I'm better at it, you know. And so, I mean, other than that is like the thing you could see is, yeah, I could improve that. You know, but still, nonetheless, you know. I mean, and back to the point being, essentially, I'm scatterminded and I'm coping every day. Scatterbrained and coping every day. You know, scatterbrained and talk about like calling it 10-second Tom, you know? Scatterbrained and talk about, you know, calling it I know what I'm talking about. I even know what I'm saying, you know? Talk about I'm you know, scatterbrained and under this 10-second Tom, you know, delusion or illusion, and somehow still I have passion. I have direction. I have instruction. I have construct, you know? I have structure, you know? I have a map to the lost. I have the lost map. The map to the land of the lost, where nothing can be found, but all things are held within. You know? I mean, that's my home. That's my comfort zone. You know? I'm okay with being me. What I've known and came to know as being me. Right where I'm at, doing right what I'm doing, being right who I'm being. Despite, you know, thinking that I got a dick big enough to measure anything. You know? Because essentially, I mean, there is no measure to a thing. Not really. You know, not where it counts, you know? So, I mean, so if it's like that, there isn't really a measure to a thing, not where it actually counts, you know? What can be measured is where you're weak, where you're easily susceptible and easily manipulatable and, easily able to be taken advantage of for your lack thereof or simply for being there, you know? So again, here's where we're at. Here's how we've been. This is what things constantly bring us through. And then you know how you guys are sitting there trying to get me to doubt something I'm saying by trying to act like you guys are trying to help me or trying to whisper in some way that I should go against some train of thought or something I'm saying, or simply leave it more vague, more open so that I don't look like I'm trying to prove a point, or I don't leave any room for anyone to disprove anything or go against anything that is being said, spoken, or held in context of a construct for a conversation's sake, or simply the free thought of, you know? Because, I mean, we are in the land of the free, right? This is a free dome where we live in, where we live at, that we've at least acknowledged. So I'll leave it there for now, eh? And I still hear you guys. I still hear you guys commenting, you know? But I told you guys are at home. You know, I am your home. I am where you show up to when you need to be, and also do what you do and still feel like you're having an impact, like you matter, like you count, like everything about you is everything that it should be. You know, just leave me out of the fucking equation and you won't miss yourself. You feel me? I'll be looking into that later and see what was said, because I think I might have to take a couple notes myself, you know? So, hey, thanks again for you guys' time. I appreciate it. And, you guys have a good rest of the day, eh? Appreciate y'all.